closed, converted, replaced by celebrity chef restaurants and food halls. Across the Las Vegas Strip, the all-you-can-eat buffet, once the most iconic dining institution in American gambling, is disappearing. At their peak, these operations showcased hundreds of dishes to thousands of guests daily. Now, entire buffet floors sit dark. To understand what killed the Vegas buffet, you have to understand why it was built in the first place. In 1955, the El Rancho Vegas Casino introduced a simple but radical idea: a late-night buffet designed to keep gamblers from leaving the tables when the restaurant closed. For just $1, guests could help themselves to cold cuts, salads, and coffee well past midnight. Owner Belden Cattleman saw that feeding players cheaply was less about making money on food and more about keeping the dice rolling. An internal El Rancho memo from 1956 credited the buffet with a 12% increase in average table time, a direct boost to gaming revenue. This approach, known in hospitality as a loss leader, meant sacrificing profit on meals to capture far greater returns from extended gambling. UNLV hospitality professors described the buffet as a calculated tool. By offering abundant, low-cost food, casinos created an environment where guests felt comfortable staying longer and spending more. Early casino ads from the late 1950s and early 1960s promoted free food for the hungry gambler, turning the buffet into a marketing weapon. The concept spread quickly across the Strip, as properties like the Flamingo and the Sands adopted similar late-night spreads, each aiming to outdo the other in both variety and value. The buffet's core logic was simple: fill the room, feed the floor, and let the chips fall where they may. This foundation set the stage for the buffet's evolution from a tactical afterthought to a defining feature of Las Vegas hospitality. By the early 1990s, the Las Vegas buffet had outgrown its humble origins and transformed into a destination in its own right. Casinos began pouring millions into what industry insiders called super buffets, vast, gleaming halls offering hundreds of dishes from around the world. The Rio's 1993 Super Buffet, with over 200 menu items, drew national press and set a new standard for scale and spectacle. Bellagio's debut in 1998 raised the bar again, pairing live cooking stations with premium ingredients and celebrity chef menus. Brochures and glossy travel ads from the era promised travelers a chance to taste the world without leaving the Strip. And the buffet became a headline attraction for out-of-state visitors as much as for gamblers. MGM, Caesars, and Wynn each leaned into the arms race, rolling out flagship buffets that boasted sushi, prime rib, and dessert displays on a scale that rivaled banquet halls. Marketing documents from the period revealed deliberate strategies to use the buffet as a brand-defining feature, bundling meal vouchers with room packages and loyalty programs to drive repeat business. As Professor Michael J. O'Brien of UNLV notes, the buffet was the centerpiece of the Las Vegas experience, an expression of abundance that defined the city's hospitality culture. Yet beneath the surface, this scale-driven model carried hidden risks. The larger the buffet, the more vulnerable it became to rising costs and operational complexity, setting the stage for future challenges. Rising food and labor costs began to strain the economics of Las Vegas buffets years before the pandemic. Between 2018 and 2024, the producer price index for meat and poultry climbed by 15%, while fresh produce costs rose nearly 10% year over year. These increases hit buffets especially hard, as operators were often locked into fixed menu prices for weeks at a time, unable to adjust quickly when commodity markets spiked. A Bellagio buffet plate that cost $44 in 2022 soared to over $70 just 4 years later, and some high-end spreads now charge $175 per person. Even so, food cost percentages regularly exceeded the 35% threshold that most full-service restaurants target, compressing already thin margins. Labor expenses compounded the problem. Buffets are labor-intensive, requiring large teams of line cooks, chefs, servers, and sanitation staff to keep dozens of stations running simultaneously. In 2026, the average hourly wage for culinary staff on the Strip reached $22 to $25, well above the national median. National Restaurant Association data shows a 4 to 5% annual increase in food service wages and a turnover rate above 70%, forcing constant recruitment and retraining. One longtime buffet manager described the challenge as trying to keep a full kitchen staffed during a gold rush, with skilled cooks jumping to higher-paying venues or leaving the industry altogether. These pressures left buffets operating on the edge. Food cost surges, wage inflation, and high turnover made it increasingly difficult to maintain profitability. By the late 2010s, the buffet model was already fragile, vulnerable to any shock that could push costs even higher or disrupt staffing further. The pandemic would become that shock, but the cracks were already showing in the years leading up to it. March 2020 brought an abrupt silence to Las Vegas buffets. Overnight, casino dining rooms that once pulsed with thousands of guests were shuttered by state order. Nevada's emergency health directives mandated immediate closure of all self-serve food operations. Operators faced a daunting list of requirements for any possible reopening: new ventilation systems to increase air changes per hour, plexiglass barriers at every station, and strict capacity limits, often no more than half the previous seating, with hard caps around 150 diners per shift. Retrofitting a large buffet space could cost between $200,000 and $400,000, depending on the complexity of the HVAC overhaul and the number of required barriers. For managers, the reality was stark. One longtime buffet director at a major Strip property recalled standing in the empty dining hall, the lights dimmed, rows of chafing dishes covered and silent. With no revenue and mounting costs, he described the moment as watching decades of tradition vanish in a week. The numbers were unforgiving. Each day closed meant lost food inventory, while reopening meant heavy new investments in cleaning staff, health screeners, and supplies, adding up to $5 per seat per shift in extra labor alone. Even as restrictions eased, many casinos hesitated to bring buffets back. The cost of compliance, combined with ongoing labor shortages and uncertainty about future health mandates, pushed operators to reconsider the entire format. For some, the pandemic was not just a temporary interruption, it was the final push to close buffets for good. The pandemic shock didn't create the cracks in the buffet model, but it forced every weakness into the open, turning cost pressure into permanent closure decisions. Casino operators began rethinking how to use the vast footprints once dedicated to buffets. As food and labor costs climbed, executives looked closely at revenue per square foot, a metric that increasingly favored new concepts over the old all-you-can-eat model. MGM Resorts closed its 20,800 square foot buffet in 2022, replacing it with a food hall featuring curated vendors. The company's financials reported a 13% increase in food and beverage revenue per square foot, along with a 28% drop in labor costs. Caesars Entertainment followed a similar path at Bellagio, converting the iconic buffet into a premium grill and sushi venue, and reporting $12 million in quarterly revenue, a $4 million jump over the buffet's last full year. Wynn Resorts took their buffet space upscale with chef-driven concepts, achieving a 15% annual revenue boost and more than doubling their profit margin on the same floor area. According to one food and beverage director, every square foot has to justify itself now. A buffet might fill a room, but a chef's table or a food hall delivers twice the margin and half the waste. These conversions reflect a strategic pivot, maximizing profit from prime real estate, even if it means leaving behind a decades-old tradition. Buffet closures have reshaped the Las Vegas experience for visitors and locals alike. For many, the days of affordable, unlimited dining are over. The average price for a Strip buffet has doubled since 2020, with a few high-end spreads now charging $175 per person. While these premium buffets attract a luxury crowd, the traditional value seeker has fewer options. Hospitality analysts point to a clear divide. Tourists willing to pay more for curated, chef-driven experiences still find a place at the table, but budget travelers are left searching for alternatives off the main drag. Longtime patrons voice frustration over the loss of accessible, communal dining. What was once a signature part of the Vegas visit now feels out of reach for many. Surveys from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority show a steady decline in buffet-related bookings, while food hall and specialty restaurant reservations have surged. Looking ahead, analysts forecast that full-service buffets will make up less than 10% of strip dining by 2028. The few that survive are expected to focus on exclusivity and spectacle rather than volume and affordability, reflecting a broader shift in the city's identity from mass-market hospitality to high-margin entertainment. Today, Vegas buffets stand at a crossroads, caught between nostalgia and hard economics. As the Strip pursues higher margins and exclusivity, the classic all-you-can-eat model fades. Whether buffets return as premium experiences or vanish entirely, their decline reveals how profit now shapes even the city's most iconic traditions. Share your thoughts below.